into the latest edition of ESPN FC Live. It's Kay and Janusz here today. We're actually going to have a little bit of fun. We're putting Janusz to the test. You guys may have seen the blind rankings where 10 names will be given to you for whatever reason. And without knowing what's coming next, Janusz is going to have to decide where to put this name. The topic today is Manchester United's biggest flops since Sir Alex Ferguson left. So there have been lots of transfers over the last decade or so since Sir Alex left. We're going to give Janusz some random names. He knows that number 1 is the biggest flop of them all. Number 10, the least floppiest of the 10 names that I'm going to give you. Are you ready, Janusz? Do you know how to do this?
I am ready. It's just the worst thing is like anticipating what I think you may say, which names. But of course, the names I think about may never come up. So this is fun. But it's going to be crazy bad.
That's what you've got to get in your head. You might think that name's coming, so I don't want to put that player too high. All right, let's get started. 1 to 10. The number 1 being the worst. Jadon Sancho.
Jadon Sancho, 3.
3. 3 with Jadon Sancho. That's pretty high, Janusz, to start with.
Well, because, I mean, if you call the 2 names that I think you're going to call, then they're clearly, for me, number 1 and 2, probably. So I'm just taking a chance that the 2 names are going to come up.
Okay, but it was quite quick that you answered 3 even for Jadon Sancho, and that he's not further down the list. So that's quite a strong feeling there.
Yeah, I mean, he's done absolutely nothing, right? Nothing on the pitch. I mean, off the pitch, I mean, there's been issues with him. We've seen that, I know this is about Manchester United, but we see that continue right now in the Bundesliga as well. He's not playing, and when he is playing, he's not doing well. So, yeah, it's been very, very disappointing no matter where he's been.
Okay, number 2, Alexis Sanchez.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't very good. I'll put him 4 again and
4.
hold it up. Yeah, because again, let me put it this way. I have clear number 1 and 2 being the worst. So, I mean, since 3 is Jadon Sancho, I have to put Sanchez 4th.
Okay, because remember, there were a lot more names to come, so you could go further.
I know.
All right. I'm going to make a note of this myself, but I know our producers are on it. So, the 3rd name I'm going to give to you is Mamma Mia, Angel Di Maria.
Oh, yeah, you're probably not going to give those names. See, that's going to look bad. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't great, that's for sure. Didn't like it there, didn't love it. I think got robbed there. Who knows what happened with him. But now I have to put him at number 5. And I know this is going to look silly if my 2 names don't come up. So, but I'm sure you will.
But are you just if your 2 names don't come up, are you just going to keep going 5, 6, 7, 8 with everything? You've still got 10, 9, 8, 7 available.
Well, I mean, Di Maria hasn't done anything, so I feel good with it there and with the players that I have. I mean, if you don't come up with the 2 names, they're obviously a bit silly. But now I'm going to start thinking differently because we're almost halfway there, aren't we?
Okay, well, this is what we want from you. Just the 3 names so far.
Oh, 3.
All right, next name for you, Paul Pogba.
Ooh, Paul Pogba again. But because I mean, the thing is that there's been some signs with him, right? I mean, he's been good. So what positions have I not? Because I don't see the list.
So he's obviously not your 1 and 2 that you've got in your head.
No.
You've still got 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 being the least of the worst.
Right. I'll give him 6 because I can recognize the talent. I think there's been enough games where I feel, I mean, he was a good player. A lot of these names are obviously decent players in the past. I think when he was there, I didn't dislike him as much as some of the other names that you've mentioned. And perhaps even United fans probably didn't dislike him as much. So, yeah, I'm going to keep him. What is it now, 5th or 6th?
Are you sure you don't want to go like 7, 8, 9, or 10 then with him? Do you think 6 is a bit low then? The 6th worst signing?
No, I'm going to trust my gut. Unless you're coming up with some, crazy old names that are nowhere near to what we see right now. I mean, we are talking about Manchester United, whom, most of the players currently are flops. So I'm hoping that some of those names are going to come up. I could be wrong.
Okay, and just a reminder, if you are joining us late, guys, those of you viewing, this is since Sir Alex's departure. So this is transfers that have come in since Sir Alex left. Okay. Donny van de Beek.
Number 1.
Was that in your head?
I don't even know that he was there. Yeah, I told you I have clear number 1 and number 2.
But you didn't even know he was there, but that was your that was your one in your head.
I didn't know, obviously, that he wasn't there, but I took a chance. As I told you, you were trying to push me, press me to put him high. I kind of felt that if I'm going to reserve my first 2, and look, I like Van de Beek, but I don't even know that he was there. I don't remember when he played, how he played. I mean, there's nothing to remember him by, and that is unfortunate. But that's he takes over another name that I hope comes up, and they have something in common. But we'll see.
Okay. Next, Romelu Lukaku.
Ooh,
I'll tell you spots you've got left. You've got number 2 left. You've got number 7, 8, 9, and 10 left.
I think I'll put him at 7. He scored enough goals. I mean, didn't accomplish much. I mean, he's always been a disappointing figure, but I'm gonna put him up there. So 7, whatever is, he's not gonna be number 1.
Okay, so Paul Pogba was a worse transfer for Manchester United than Romelu Lukaku.
Wait a second. How does that work?
This is what you've got to start thinking. It doesn't matter because you can't change it now.
No.
But this is what you've got to have in your head because you keep
going.
Reverse
that. I meant to say. So what did I have? Where's Paul Pogba? Again,
this is why I was warning you. You've given Paul Pogba number 6. We can't change it now.
Okay.
But anyway,
then
this is what you've got to have in your head. That other names could come up. That if you think they weren't that bad, maybe they should be lower on your list.
I'll live with it. I'll live it. The sun will come up tomorrow.
All right. Next is Memphis Depay.
I mean, now I'm stuck with W.
You've got 8, 9, and 10 left. Because I know he's not your number 2, right?
No. Well, it has to be 8th. I mean, it has to be. I can't. Yeah, I trumped myself with that one because I like. Okay.
8. You should have been a bit more scattered with them. All right.
Yeah, I should have.
Anthony.
No. What's got number 2? Those are 2 names that I thought they were going to come up. I told you that 2 have something in common where they came from. So at least I'm happy with my worst 2 players. I got what I wanted.
So knowing that, obviously you didn't know he was coming up, but knowing that you had him in your head in case he did come up, why so firm on this being a flop?
Well, I mean, look, I first and foremost, I could have gone with Anthony number 1 over Van de Beek, but I think just in general, I think he just got there. There's something to him. We've seen it at Ajax. Overall, I like a much better player. But I mean, he's done nothing so far. I mean, the price tag is hefty. Obviously, all of them are flops for the most part, right? If I have to say, but. I gave him number 2. I gave them benefit of the doubt because, I mean, I've seen something in that player at Ajax. I haven't seen it just yet. That was my decision between Van de Beek and Anthony, not knowing what names are going to come up.
2 names left. Radamel Falcao, 9 or 10?
Oh, I wonder what's the other name, but yeah, I would say 10. I mean, it wasn't good, right? I mean, it wasn't good at all. Like 1 and 2, I was sure, but that name I didn't think was going to come up. I'm going to give him 10. Oh, I mean, I'm sorry, 9. 9.
9.
9. That's I hope that the 10's got to be better than Falcao.
Okay, number 10 is your only spot left, and the only name I've got to give you is Cristiano Ronaldo.
That's about right from all the names that you've read. Of course, I wish the 6, 7, 8, 9. That that's the part that I wish I got better because Falcao is worse than Pogba and but the first and second and the 10th, which I think are the most important ones. I think I got it right.
Okay, so here's a little look back, a little refresher for you, Janusz.
Paul Pogba would have been higher in my book. Di Maria, I don't know, maybe a point up there. I think Yeah, Lukaku, I think obviously I would have put ahead of Falcao, that's for sure. So in my ninth spot, I think I would have had Romelu Lukaku. Now that I look, Paul Pogba would have been maybe eighth. So that middle part, obviously, the game got the better of me. But I'm pretty happy with number 10, and I'm very happy with my number 1 and 2.
You're happy with Cristiano Ronaldo being the least flop of the flops here?
Absolutely. I mean, he's okay. It's not the first. It's not the first, Cristiano Ronaldo that came on the scene, such a young player playing a right wing and scoring 30 plus goals in that season, which was unbelievable, obviously. And he's been a divisive figure in the second go around, even though he was scoring goals. But I still think you have to recognize quality, which he's shown, right? So I didn't necessarily go here by amount of money spent on these players, because this is not what the game was all about. I think when you look at talent, when you look what he's done, I mean, he's done better than probably anybody else on that list for the most part, right?
Yeah, I want to play this again with you another week, but let's talk about some honourable mentions. Were there any names that you thought might come up that didn't off the top of your head?
Probably Harry Maguire. Right,
I mean, we had him on an honourable mention list in case.
That's probably a good name, which I think probably would have been somewhere in the middle there. I mean, obviously not great, but not absolutely horrible. I mean, there's a couple players that won some titles in that span, right? Which you could somehow justify. I thought that maybe Casemiro, because it's a good topic. What do you think? Big player. I guess it's great because now, if it was just this season, that would have been totally different as well, right? So Casemiro, the one that came in last year, as opposed to the one that's playing right now. So I thought maybe his name is gonna come up, or somebody like Varane. But obviously we went deeper in the history, and that's fair play, right? Because it's since Sir Alex Ferguson. So Falcao surprised me a little bit, because I almost, I mean, not that I didn't know he played it, but it's almost, wait a second, yeah, he did play for Manchester United, type of thing. And I would have put him differently. I think that middle order, I didn't get it right, because maybe I was too focused on who's going to be my number 1 and 2 and who's going to be the 10 and 9. So we all learned the game. Fair play.
Of course. That's why I want to play with you again, because obviously this is the first time you've done it. But I was trying to give you those clues, because I felt that you were quite complimentary in the end of Paul Pogba. And I thought maybe he'll regret not putting him further down the list in the end.
Yes. I think, and in my mind, my thinking about him was actually more positive than what the narrative was. But because I anticipated different names, I kind of felt maybe I'll put him somewhere there, kind of in the middle, and I would have put him a little bit higher, I suppose. So yeah,
I'll give you Anthony Martial. Did you think his name might come up?
I did. I wouldn't have been kind to him. I think he would, I mean, Jadon Sancho longevity wasn't all that long, but I think I would have had him somewhere there, 3 or 4, Martial, because such a frustrating player. I mean, we've seen the quality from him, that at times he looks unplayable, but because of the talent that he had and just his body language, constant injuries, and almost a feel as if he didn't care, I think would have pushed me to put him up there. I think matter of fact, I was almost 100% sure that you're going to bring his name, because he would have been an automatic one for me, as begrudgingly kind of a flop, because the talent is there. I mean, it's incredible in terms of footballing intelligence. It's there.
Absolutely. Before we talk Lionel Messi, which is coming up next here on the show, we did want to ask you, who is your biggest flop as a manager since Sir Alex Ferguson left?
I think, Ragnick, maybe. I mean, it's a difficult time because it was out of nowhere. He's telling some truth, and he was now, right? Because even recently I saw a coy, statements from him type of that the issues there are deeper. I was talking about that. He was probably right, but I just think, as much as I liked him as a manager, the fact that he didn't manage for 10 years, and just to get him up there, sort of intern, but in charge of the club and all of that, I think he was super disappointing. I think he would have been my number 1.
Yeah, I wonder if you'd say David Moyes there, given that it's almost like his name is used as an example now as to when a top manager leaves, we say, oh, will it be like the
Yeah.
David scenario?
Yeah, but he had a much tougher situation, and that may be just why I wouldn't have put him there, right? Because
Right.
he came immediately after Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson recommended him, and that drop off was kind of, you could anticipate that a little bit. It was never going to be easy for anybody, I suppose. So I think Ragnick would have taken over him.
All right. Let's talk about Lionel Messi then, because it was a big 5-0 win over Orlando. It's been a good start to the season for Inter Miami. Do you think, Janusz, that teams are going to be playing with that little bit of apprehension and fear because it's Messi and his gang basically at Inter Miami? Do you think they already come into it with that fear factor?
Well, I don't know teams, but I think individual players do. I mean, it's just normal. I mean, he has done this throughout his career, right? I mean, we all know what he can do. And, the fact that, he's a bit slower these days, I think with the type of player that he is, I don't necessarily think it's a bonus, because what he does standing, I always, I'd rather have a player running at me, although that's much easier with him either when he decides to do that, right? But he's such a brilliant player that no matter where he pops up, and he's got a freedom to be just about anywhere, I think everybody recognizes the quality. Every player recognizes the fact that that he himself or everybody else around him could be embarrassed by such a great player. So, I don't necessarily think that it's a fear that everybody talks about, but it stays in the back of every player's mind or team's mind.
Because, I feel that obviously because you've got the likes of Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Lionel Messi, age is talked about a lot when it comes to Inter Miami. But aside from the age point of view, do you think there's anything else that could hold Miami back this season?
Well, for as long as majority of these players stay healthy, I think they're going to continue to be favorites. Because, if you look at Messi right now, I mean, it's certainly about Messi, but it's about the environment that's being created for him, because everything is perfect for him to play well and to be happy. Because we're talking about Messi, but we've seen, of course, what Suarez does with Alba. You have an environment, where Busquets, as we've seen already last year when Messi came in, and even in Barcelona, Busquets, all he does is look for Messi. 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, right? I mean, constantly. So if you play like Messi, going to get the touches on the ball. There's never going to be an issue of when to get it and how to get it, right? You have that. You have Jordi Alba, with whom he's had an incredible relationship, and he's had a relationship not just with Alba, but Dani Alves, even though he doesn't play there. As we know, the fullbacks are very important for him. And Suarez, with whom he's best friends, right? He's had a relationship with him. It's sort of, not so much scarier, because you saw those assists from Luis Suarez. I mean, that's incredible. If he continues to start crossing the balls, not just finishing, that's an added bonus. And those that paid attention to Suarez, like I did at Liverpool, I mean, you have two players that can find each other telepathically. And it doesn't even have to be a good ball, because Luis Suarez is maybe the best in the world. You can pass the ball at his neck and he finds a way to either score or bring it down. So, and now you have Tata Martino, you have a couple of other South American or Argentines on the team. Francisco Redondo's coming in. He seems to be an exciting player. Now with DeAndre Yedlin leaving, that gives him room to spend some more money. Guess what? Chances are it's going to be a player that's going to fit in perfectly with that. So I give credit to Inter, because they are creating an environment around Leo Messi. So it's not just about Leo Messi. He certainly is going to take care of business himself. But I think that, I'm not going to sit here after 2 games and say absolutely Inter Miami are going to win it. But if they stay healthy, they're going to be up there. The playoff system, of course, changes things, and how difficult it is to travel and all that. You never know, but they continue to stay favorites. They haven't even played well. And look, I mean, 3 games. No, for them.
3 games. Yeah, there was a draw and 2 wins.
Well, for them, they started early, right? It's 2 games for everybody else. And, they're sitting pretty. Not even playing great.
Well, what does that say then about MLS? Is it like, where's the balance? Is it an indictment on the league that Messi and co are favourites at their age and can walk through it? Or is it more to the point that we're talking about true greats, where because it's those true greats in a team, this is why we are seeing what happens, and this is why people are predicting them to be favourites?
Look, as I said, it's a Messi League soccer. And I don't think that's necessarily great. But I when you really sit down and think about that, I mean, the league needs that. Because if it's not Messi, I mean, who are we talking about, right? If it's true in general that this league wants to get better, wants to be recognized around the world, then the league itself, after 29 years, I think they've put themselves on the map. But there's never going to be a time, at least in my lifetime, that we're going to be talking about Major League Soccer as top 5, 6, 7 leagues in the world. It's just not going to happen. The only way that happens is if the best players are playing here, and that's I don't see that anytime soon. Although I hope for that. So, Lionel Messi is great. He's proven that just about everywhere, right? I think, as I've mentioned, bringing in that environment around him, it's superb, because you saw Messi without a positive environment for him in Paris Saint-Germain, right? I mean, he didn't play well because obviously, every player wants to be happy. And he wasn't happy there, didn't have the players, didn't have the sort of supporting cast that he wanted, with the exception of Neymar, maybe. Everything else was blah. Because why? He didn't even want to be there in the first place. So is it indication of the league? To a degree, of course it is, because that's the only thing that we're talking about, right? Somebody sent me a YouTube thing about, Major League Soccer on YouTube in terms of hits. And it's like, highlights of Major League Soccer, it's like 35,000, and highlights of Lionel Messi is like 1.5 million. That tells you everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, and here we are talking about him on the regular.
But I don't know if that's the league's. I don't. To a degree, it's not the league's fault. They wanted that. They are getting recognition for it, and I suppose. I don't know if I looked at that when he was in La Liga, chances are that was the same. It was him or Cristiano Ronaldo. I can't imagine that he wasn't by far the sort of player that everybody wanted to see. So I don't necessarily think that's just down to Major League Soccer.
We've got to talk a little bit about Luis Suarez, because I feel last time out there were his critics who came out saying he didn't look so great. But obviously he had 2 goals.
Run the tape. I knew he was going to come good after 1 week.
Like you were saying, you're just a player that you followed that whole time. That this is a player of pure quality. Obviously, every player gets older, but you stuck by him, Janusz.
Well, I mean, I stood by him, A, because I like him. B, I recognize that he's not the same Luis Suarez, but I also knew that he's got to get a little bit in shape. It's only 1 week in. I mean, it's in terms of finishers, I mean, he's, here we are talking about the Harry Kanes, Erling Haalands, and, I mean, Erling Haaland be lucky, in my opinion, to be talked the way, for example, Suarez has been. I mean, Haaland's a pure finisher. We've seen it. I mean, he misses. I mean, just the misses in the last 2 or 3 weeks from Haaland. Imagine Suarez. I mean, that's a finish. Almost every one of them is a finish, right? So technically superb, as I've said. One of the few that players like me at the lowest level, right, would wish to have a player like that, because any ball you put up there, chances are he's going to do something with it, right? I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff with Luis Suarez. So in this league, of course, with Lionel Messi next to him, with Busquets, Alba, and all the other players around him, I just think that he's still going to be fine. I think he's going to get himself fit if he stays healthy. The instincts don't go away. And I think last game was a good example of that, because, they demolished what I think is a pretty good Orlando team. I mean, basically, they walked the game. And Luis Suarez, all of a sudden, those instincts kicked in. That's why I think in this league, I have no worries about him scoring goals or delivering the sort of balls that he did.
All right, last question then. Obviously, 34-game regular season in MLS. For Inter Miami, how many games do you think they'll lose this season?
8 to 10 at most.
8 to 10.
Yeah, I just threw it. Almost doesn't, with the playoff system. It doesn't really matter it just doesn't matter, because they will, with that cast, they will automatically be in the playoffs. And when that happens, then it's a totally different ball wax. It's a different tournament, and it's a little bit of lag. But I think that, that's when Inter Miami, I think at the very least, I mean, the antennas for the players that we've mentioned are just going to go up then. just very much like the Leagues Cup, right? When he first came in, the worst team in the league, it was something on the line. So I worry a little bit going from game to game and the grind of Major League Soccer for the likes of Messi's and Suarez, the distances they're going to have to travel. We're going to get the weather factor, right? I mean, thank God they weren't in Salt Lake the other day playing in snow, but the humidity that they're used to, of course, in Miami, but that's going to kick in. And I think there are going to be games where, the older legs, they're going to pay the price for that, right? Because the brilliance is not going to be there for every game in such a long season and such a grueling season. But I just think that it's getting to the playoffs. That's where the antennas of the winners of everything there is to be won in the world, everything, that experience will pay dividends. Now, if it's going to be enough to win the whole thing, you need a little bit of luck too. And there's going to be teams there are teams there that are better balanced than them. But if the front three or four, the players that we're talking about, play up to their level, then it's going to be difficult. They're going to have to win it from the front. But then again, that's Major League Soccer. It's one from the front for the most part, right?
Well, we'll keep following it as always. And just before we do go, okay, Janusz may not have hit the heights of your Busquets and your Messis, but he did play for the US. He's a US international. So don't sell yourself short, Janusz.
Come on, boy.
Look forward to having you guys with us next week. And we'll put some blind rankings again to Janusz some point in this season because that was fun. See you next time.